How strong can the influence of a single driver be on the development of a car that does not yet exist? What if I told you that Lewis Hamilton, after a season to forget, has brought Ferrari's technical department to its knees with just one test in Abu Dhabi? Abu Dhabi. End of season. A circuit that represents more of a farewell than an opportunity. And yet, what happened on that deserted runway under the lights of the Yas Marina was a silent declaration of war. While many teams slowed down, calmly reviewed data, or sent their test drivers, Ferrari did something that is only understood when it is understood that its history is written slowly: put Lewis Hamilton in the car. Lewis had no obligation to be there. Post-season testing is usually the territory of young talents, development drivers, or simple contractual commitments. However, the seven-time world champion expressly asked to be part of that session. And he did it with an intensity and dedication that even disconcerted his own engineers. It wasn't just another day. It was the symbolic beginning of 2026. You have to understand the emotional context. Hamilton was coming off one of the most frustrating campaigns of his career. In his first year with Ferrari, he did not achieve a single victory. Expectations were very high. Its arrival had been treated as the market coup of the century. But the car, the SF25, did not respond. The strategies failed. And the magic was diluted in each lap, in each weekend, in each second lost in the pits or behind a DRS that did not open enough. To many, Hamilton appeared to be experiencing a slow decline. But that narrative was about to break. Because what Lewis brought to Abu Dhabi was not resignation. It was determination. From the first moment he got off the plane, he showed a completely different attitude than the pilot hit by a bad season. There were no complaints. There was no distancing. Instead, he immersed himself in data sheets, in technical meetings, in the hidden language of telemetry. And the moment he got into the mule car, that experimental prototype with parts of the future 2026 single-seater, he made it clear that he had not come to drive. He had come to build. Inside the garage, Maranello engineers watched in silence as Hamilton worked with surgical precision. He reviewed every adjustment, asked about every reaction of the car, interpreted signals that not even the simulators had been able to foresee. Their level of involvement not only exceeded expectations, but generated a wave of respect. He was not the star driver that he comes to fulfill. He was a track technician, someone who understands that the difference between winning and losing in Formula One is defined in these small moments that almost no one sees. The contrast with Lewis Hamilton from the beginning of the season was brutal. That driver who seemed not to find the rhythm, who was stuck in Q2, who lost positions in the first corners, now appeared transformed into a silent leader. I wasn't looking for headlines. He was laying the foundation for something bigger. And this is where the true value of this test begins to emerge. Because for Ferrari, what happened in Abu Dhabi was more than a day of testing. It was a warning to his rivals. It was an internal reaffirmation. And above all, it was the first step of a renaissance that, if it comes to fruition, cannot be understood without this scene. Hamilton in the Yas Marina pit, with his helmet still in his hand, arguing for hours with the engineers about how to design a car that does not yet exist. To understand why Hamilton's performance in the Abu Dhabi test was so powerful, it is not enough to look at the timetable. In fact, in this type of tests, the times are little more than decoration. The cars are modified, the tire compounds are experimental, and the overall setup is radically different to that of a Grand Prix weekend. What is really tested on those days is something much more intangible: the level of rapport between driver, machine, and development team. And in that regard, Hamilton left an indelible mark. What impressed Ferrari was not pure speed, but its ability to diagnose complex problems in a car that, in theory, was just beginning its development. The Maranello engineers arrived with a well-defined list of objectives: test the rigidity of the new chassis, evaluate the first data of the Pirelli 2026, and begin to understand the behavior of the new active aerodynamics. But they did not expect a pilot to so clearly identify the hidden defects in the basic design. And, above all, they did not expect me to do it without a prior reference, without comparative telemetry, without the need for a second opinion. One of the most shocking findings was his diagnosis of the rear suspension. According to internal sources, Hamilton detected a structural imbalance that directly affected the transfer of loads during braking, something that could seriously compromise traction in slow corners. Neither the simulator data nor the sessions with Leclerc had revealed that pattern with such precision. It was not a simple observation, but a technical analysis that integrated mechanical behavior, aerodynamics, and driving sensation. For the engineers, this was a revelation. But Lewis' contribution was not limited to diagnosis. Their feedback was described by the team itself as gold dust. And there's a reason for that. He didn't just point out the problem, he offered viable solutions. Adjustments to the angle of attack of the upper arm, suggestions on the mapping of the internal shock absorbers, proposals to redistribute the unsprung mass. All of this was discussed in real time, while other drivers finished their stint and went to rest. Hamilton stayed in the garage, reviewing data sheets, watching the onboard video frame by frame, chatting with the aerodynamics technicians as if he were part of the department. But if there is something that ended up sealing the internal respect for Hamilton, it was his attitude outside the car. He refused to leave when his shift ended. He sat down with Fred Vasseur and those responsible for the 678 project, and immersed himself in the discussion about the integration of the active aerodynamics system. This system, which will usher in a new era in 2026, is not a simple moving fin. It is a complete ecosystem of adjustable, sensorized elements that must be harmoniously integrated with the driving style and philosophy of the car. And it was Hamilton who proposed a different approach. Redesign the steering wheel so that the aerodynamic changes are not activated only with buttons, but can be modulated depending on the steering angle and brake pressure, that is, integrate them organically into the dynamics of the car itself. That suggestion, according to internal reports, sparked a storm of ideas in Maranello. Not just because of its technical audacity, but because of what it implied. Hamilton was not acting as a hired driver. I was thinking as if I were part of the design team. This test was not a work day. It was an open-heart surgery for Ferrari's future. One that no one expected. And that changed everything. Up to this point, everything we have said seems to describe a brilliant professional at his best. But what happened at Yas Marina goes far beyond technical efficiency. What Hamilton did that day was not only valuable to Ferrari in terms of engineering. It was, above all, an act of personal vindication, a demonstration of character, irrefutable proof that even when the public narrative gives you up, the real story can be written in silence, between tools, screens and decisions invisible to the media eye. Lewis Hamilton did not get into the car by contract. He did it out of conviction. And that difference changes everything. Because while others go on vacation, he chose to stay. While the paddock speculated about his retirement, he worked with the fervor of a rookie and the precision of a veteran. That mix is extremely rare. Only the truly great understand that the moment of greatest darkness can also be the opportunity for greatest construction. During the test, there were no cameras following him the entire time. There were no grandiloquent interviews. But inside the box, the atmosphere changed. Engineers who had barely shared meetings with him during the season came to listen to his arguments. Technicians in the vehicle dynamics area, who were already thinking of 2026 as a problem without a solution, began to rethink assumptions. And it was in that environment, in that microclimate full of tension and hope, where something intangible but powerful emerged: respect. Genuine respect, not only for your resume but for your current delivery. For its ability to transform a day of testing into a foundational moment. Ferrari didn't simply see its star driver working. He saw a leader, to a builder of culture. Someone who does not come to occupy a seat, but to redefine the limits of what it means to be part of the Scuderia. Because what happened in that test is not only important for Ferrari. It is a message for all of Formula One. In an era where drivers are often treated as luxury employees, where simulators and spreadsheets replace human judgment, Hamilton reminded everyone that intuition, commitment, and experience can still have the last word. And that message was no coincidence. It was the result of years of frustration, of personal and professional evolution, of assuming mistakes, of questioning systems, and of not settling for external noise. Lewis may have hidden behind the argument that the car was not up to par. He could have demanded changes without getting involved. But he chose the most difficult thing: leading from within. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.